Hi, my name is Donna, and I'm here today to talk to you about a few simple things. Life. We all have a calling. I never truly understood my calling. I thought it was many different things, but I've come to realize my calling is to speak to you. What I'm supposed to talk about? Now that's a question. I find talking about things that I know about to be the best thing for me to talk about. And the main thing that I know about is my life. So here I am to discuss some of the ups and downs of life, and hoping that my little ministry may affect you in such a way to bring about a positive reaction in your life. Simple. I'm writing a book. The book starts out in Harlem a very long time ago, and a very little girl, about 5 years old, looking up at her mother and saying, I really don't remember being born, which is not an uncommon question for a child of 5. But the story continues. As I grew, not much longer in Harlem, we moved to Queens. Very interesting place in the late 50s, early 60s. Beautiful. South Ozone Park was a lovely place to grow up in. I had a great time there, except for one thing. Although my family were strong workers and pioneers, one of the first African American families in Suffolk, South Ozone Park, we still came with many of our own personal drawbacks. And maybe sometime, if you think about it, you might think, yeah, I think we went through something like that. On top of the prejudice, of course, most African Americans endured in those days. Unbeknownst to me, a child of 5 or 6, I really didn't understand the rules of this type of thing. And I played with all my neighbors. We played great games. I don't think any of us knew about this color thing because when my Caucasian friend laid in the sun to get a suntan, so did I. My mother informed me later I was born with mine. Anyway, getting past those type of things, I want to address some of the things that went on inside the house. For one, my grandmother was a very hard worker. She was from New Orleans. Was born there and stayed there until about 14, came to New York. So her ways was set in the culture of the world at that time. And she always tried to impress upon us in her own way, which sometimes I don't think most of us really understood. This woman was talking to us from a place of extreme pain. Uh, you'll find that we, even as just women, suffer great indignities in life sometimes. And we really do react from those places throughout our lives. She went to work every day. She worked 32 years in one hospital as a nursing assistant at a time when they had no Hoyer lifts to help people. But she knew she had an obligation to our family to fulfill. My mother, very nice person, good heart, did a lot for her friends and community, anything that she could do. Had been abused as a child. This abuse came to her adulthood. It never left her. And unfortunately, trickled down into who's her only child? Me. So I came from the world of the strap. If you were not listening or if you didn't move quick enough, this is what happened. Of course, my mother suffered from alcoholism. This was something I later learned to understand was a disease, on top of being something that can be learned by individuals who were victims of abuse. Coming up in the public school system in Harlem for her was not a pleasant thing. So she decided, you are going to Catholic school. So that's what her and my father decided would happen. My uncle, on the other hand, he had fought the public school system, come all the way through it, done quite well for himself, and became one of the first black cops in Harlem back in the 50s and moved up the ladder, so he did quite fine with that. My mother became a homebody and stayed home. All of this sort of affected me in a way unbeknownst to me. I would later develop my own views on life. So, the only reason I mention these things is so that we all remember to be careful what we let children see because they don't forget. And it's absolutely implanted inside their bodies, and it will be uh, the way they look at life. So, from a spiritual point of view, because, oh, yes, along my life, hits and bumps and bruises and getting down and getting knocked down and getting back up, I became a minister. So, I'm deeply rooted in my faith, and I'm very happy and very comfortable to be there. And my life is a testimony to the Almighty. So, I want to just make that clear. These talks that I plan to give are absolutely based from a spiritual place. And as I said, hopefully, things that I encountered in life and was able to get past in life will help somebody else know that absolutely, yes, there is an Almighty. If you believe, if you pray, and if you sort of try to walk a straight line, if you can, this Almighty will speak back to you. And He spoke back to me many times. Many, many, many times I was in different situations, and I really don't believe or understand how I even got out of them. But it was a miraculous thing, I believe. Holy Spirit working very closely with me. One of the main reasons I wanted to have this podcast video YouTube channel was to get my message out to the world. And it's absolutely one that Jesus is alive and well. And I have a prayer warrior group called WHIP, and that stands for Warriors Here in Prayer. And I'm going to say a prayer for you today. And I'm going to ask the Holy Spirit to come amongst us all right here, right now. And please look into our hearts, look into our souls, look into our spirits. See what you need to see to help us heal and be better people. If we've gone through a breakup in a marriage, help us to heal and realize that God may have a different plan for us. And maybe it's not for us to be with that person. Because after all, we didn't create anybody. And we are all God's children. So if it is for that to be, if it is God's will, we want to pray that this goes down peaceably and everybody learns to get their chips back together and keep going because God walks with you no matter where you're at in life. I also want to pray that anybody that's going through a sickness or a child that's suffering in this world has the Almighty, merciful God right beside them, praying for them, staying with them, and letting them know that they're not going through anything alone, that God is there with you. I want to pray a financial blessing on everyone, that those of us struggling in the world who just pay our rent or pay our utility bills or just maybe go to a movie, just go to McDonald's sometime if that's where you want to go. Just praying that God will allow us to financial grace to be able to move peaceably and easily and have these little things on this earth while we are here. Because this is a very short life we live. It's not long. Eternity is forever. So I ask in Jesus Christ's holy name a blessing on each and every last one of you. Until our next little talk, this is Donna saying goodbye and see you soon.